All right, Kevin back with you for another episode of the $1 Million Relationships Podcast. And today I'm here with David Kessler. David, welcome. So awesome to have you on the show today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
It- I'll tell you, I've been looking forward to this. And yeah, one thing I have definitely figured out really quick, David, is you and I, we could talk for a long time. In fact, I was finally like, you know what? We probably ought to start recording and doing an interview.
Yeah.
And we got connected through the Quoted platform, and I found out about those guys. Oh, probably about a year ago. A friend of mine told me about them, and I'll tell you, I have met some absolutely amazing podcast guests because of the Quoted platform. And of course, that's how you and I connected. And so I just wanted to give those guys a shout out because they're doing an amazing work over there. And I for one, just really appreciate the work that they're doing. And
Yeah, look, and they've connected me to some great people as well.
that's awesome. That's awesome. So yeah, you and I, we already got to connect and have a conversation before, and through that are like, oh yeah, let's definitely do a podcast interview. And so now here we are circling back around for that, and I've been looking forward to this. You have an absolutely fascinating story, and we'll dig into it, and I'll just start by asking a nice, simple, easy question to get things rolling, and we'll dig deeper from there. David, what do you do, and who do you serve?
Yes. Okay. So I am the founder and CEO of a branding and creative agency based in New
Okay.
York. So we're basically what we do is we build brands. We take brands that have problems and resolve those problems. We take brands that want to grow and have opportunity, help them seize those opportunities. We help new companies develop brands. So all of those pieces, and then we basically help them do all of the things that they need to do from a marketing standpoint to kind of take advantage or really achieve their objectives, right, and their business goals. So that's what we do. We work very closely with senior level executives at organizations, from enterprise, large enterprises down to startups. So
Okay.
and B2B to B2C. So we've been in business for 20, some odd years. So we've worked with 1,000 plus companies. So lots of companies, lots of experience, lots of industries. So and for me, the what's really fascinating is every day there's something different, right? There's always I tell a story once where I had a meeting with a healthcare client in the morning and a vodka company in the afternoon, right? It doesn't get more different than that. So
Yeah,
that's
for
what we
sure.
do.
Yeah. So what inspires you most, David, about the work you do and the impact that you guys get to make?
There's the it goes back to what I just said. It's the ability to really dig in and understand the nuances of different industry and what drives it, and the complexities of different companies, and what figuring out the levers or the things that you can do, which very much kind of leans on the kind of you can call it innovation, you can call it creativity, but looking for creative solutions to help companies achieve their objectives, right?
Okay.
That's really what's really inspiring and super interesting.
Okay. Very cool. So how did you even get into doing this line of work? I mean, what is your backstory? How did we get here, David?
It's a long backstory because
That's
I've been doing it
okay.
for a very long time. Um, the first 20 years of my career were in big New York ad agencies, and
Okay.
but where it really began is really quite interesting, and is I was in my senior year of college, really had no idea what I was going to do. Um, I had started out as an engineer, didn't like that, and I went over to the communications program. And as part of the communications program, I started taking some, what they called kind of studio classes. And one of those studio classes was video production, early days. And I really enjoyed that. And I asked my professor towards the end of the semester, and I said, and this is like the end of my senior year, so kind of cutting it close. And uh, I said, can you make any money? And, and he said, yes, if you go into commercial production. Fine. So, I graduate, my father buys me a suit, um, and I hit the streets of New York. And, in the midsummer and, walking the streets of Manhattan, knocking on doors, handing out resumes. One hot summer day, had to be well in the 90s. I'm in a suit and tie. And in those days, you wore a suit and tie. I knock on a door, and a gentleman answers the door, and he feels sorry for me because he sees me sweating my ass off, and he invites me in. The gentleman's name was Ed Christie, and we talked for a while. Turns out he was also a graduate of Rutgers University,
Okay.
and so he feels bad for me, and he says, wait here for a second," and he disappears, and he comes back about 10 minutes later with 10 Xerox copies of his personal phone book,
Okay.
and call it a Rolodex, whatever you want to call it. And around that, he had circled, a handful of names, 10 or 12 names, said, call these people, use my name. I did that. I, one woman agreed to meet with me. Her name was Barbara Russo.
Okay.
Went in to New York, had a lovely meeting with her. And about 2 weeks later, she gives me a call and she says, I don't have anything for you, but my husband's agency is looking for a production assistant. Give
Okay.
this guy a call. Right. So, guy's name was Bob Nelson. He was the head executive producer at an agency called Levine, Huntley, Schmidt, and Beaver. And I meet with him and I get the job. $12,000 a year later, right? I get the job. And uh, I stayed, it turned out that I stayed at that agency for 8 years, right?
Okay.
So for a long time, right?
Yeah.
And I had kind of advanced my career. At that time, I had switched over to the account service side, and um, then basically went to a few different agencies over the next 10 plus years. Um, at a point where I had elevated to a level of an executive vice president at an agency called Footcone Belding, where I was running the AT&T global account.
Okay.
Right, so I had the advertising business was really good to me, and along the way, many of my coworkers and my peers had come to me and said, "Why don't we start something on our own, whatever?" And I said, "Well, I don't want to just be another small agency knocking on the door of people. We need an idea that's different." And at this point, so now I have two small children. I think they must have been like 6 and 4 or something like that. And I
Okay.
say to my wife, "I think I have an idea, for something." She said, "Go for it." And the idea was the founding principle of Starfish, which was based on the idea of kind of brand experience.
Okay.
Brand experience is a unique approach to branding based upon the philosophy that the way people experience brands. So what we like to say is the brand experience is the brand. The way you experience a brand based upon your interactions is the way that you define it and catalog it in your mind. And that was the founding principle. And I founded the organization with a partner who is no longer with us, left us about halfway through about 10 years ago or so. And we, kind of made a name for ourselves and grew and client by client. Um, and, fortunately, 20 plus years later, we've built a nice reputation for ourselves and a nice client list. And, you know, have kind of built something that I'm very proud of.
Yeah, for sure. And all from one connection it stemmed from that you made while you were just going door to door, sweating your butt off. And a guy kind of felt for you and invited you in and just gave you access to some of the people in his life. And what a phenomenal story.
Yeah, and I would tell you that, like, so based upon that, it's, I believe in what they say, pay it forward, right? So whenever anybody asks me, will you talk to my friend's kid? will you give this person an internship or whatever? So I always believe in paying it forward, right? So if someone helped me, I'm going to help the next guy.
Yeah. 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 But and it it all ends up coming back. Maybe not in the same place we gave, but it all comes back and we don't always, reap where we sow from. But like you, I mean, just treating people well and just showing up ready to, be of service and be of assistance. It's not a bad place to come from, you know. It's
No, not at all, right? And look, over the last 20 plus years, I can't even tell you how many clients have hired us multiple times as they've moved through their career from company to company,
okay.
right?
Okay.
So that's the other testament of building trusted relationships, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Where someone is trustful, they know that you're looking out for their best interests. You know that they know that you're going to give them excellent work, right? We're going to dig in deep. We're going to get to the answer. We're going to, at the end of the day, make them look really good.
Yeah.
And that's when you're in a service business, that's what it's about. And
Yeah.
we're in a service business.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. What is, maybe a couple examples of results that you've helped clients get that you're incredibly proud of, David?
Can I use names?
Totally your call.
Yeah. So, um, a bit of a story, but probably 12 to 15 years ago, I'm at a marketing conference. And it was one of these marketing conferences that you'd call kind of these speed dating conferences, right?
Okay.
The companies host them and they hook you up with people you could meet who, in my world would be clients that are potentially looking for service provider, right?
Okay.
Looking for assistance. I meet a guy, his name is Maurice Herrera. At that time, he's with Pepsi, young, relatively young guy, junior guy. And same kind of a thing. We had a great meeting, and um, 2, 3, 4 weeks later, I get a phone call from him. He's at Pepsi. Hey, I could really use your help. And so, great. We did a project for Pepsi, which was fabulous. It was helping him kind of ideate and create a brand for a new kind of soda. Um, Ultimately, it never launched, but it was, look, the value of that engagement was the relationship developed with Maurice.
Mhm.
Today, I would tell you Maurice is probably one of my closest friends. I would tell you he's hired us at Pepsi, at Avis, at Weight Watchers, at Soda Stream, at you know Go Go Squeeze. I mean, he's probably hired us 7 to 10 different times,
Mhm.
and but probably the place that we've had the greatest impact for Maurice is when he was at Weight Watchers.
Okay.
And what they really needed to Weight Watchers, this was a moment in time before the GLP-1s. This goes back several years. And Weight Watchers had the insight that they said, you know what, weight loss it's more than just what they call the weight on the scale. And they were launching this program called Beyond the Scale. And they needed to reorient the entire organization around this new approach. And so we developed the entire brand experience for Weight Watchers. And what was amazing, so we developed every aspect of the brand, right? From strategy through every aspect of implementation,
Okay.
also all the way through to what we call kind of the behaviors of the organization and the way that they interact, in that case, their members and
Okay.
prospective members. And we did all of that work and not look, we contributed to the immense success of the program. Um, when we started working with them, their stock price was 8. Um, it shot up to 110, right? And
Wow.
that again, but it was part of the program that attracted Oprah, is what attracted Oprah to the organization, to buy into the organization. If you recall, Oprah Oprah Winfrey ultimately kind of bought a percentage of the company and became a board seat, and that just skyrocketed. But it was this program that really caught her attention, and she said, "Okay, you understand the struggles because we really unpacked the reality of it and the struggles that people had with weight loss. Again, today with the GLP-1s, it's a different world, but um, immense success, right? And that was probably one of the most marquee case studies that we have.
Yeah. Wow. What a fascinating story. That is. So, do you have another result you'd
I
like to
have another
speak
one
to?
for, I, I have several. Another one, and it also goes back to a relationship. Um, uh, I was working at an agency called Hill Holiday. I was the managing director of their New York office, and a former client of mine um, from who had we had worked on Smirnoff together. He was the client. I was running the account at another agency, and he maybe he had lost his job, was looking for a job. He said, "There's a job at Dunkin' Donuts that I'm looking to. There's a head of marketing or a senior marketing position." Uh, and I said, "Well, hang on. Our Boston office handles it." So I got in touch with the gentleman who ran the account, and I said, "Hey, my friend, client, would really like to, kind of, put his, hat in the, his name in the ring for this position." Push comes to shove, he gets the job. A few years later, after I started Starfish, he calls me and said, "I could really use your help," right? And Duncan had, again, everyone knows it. Fred the baker. It's time to make the donuts campaign. This is when the point in time when Starbucks was really taking the industry by storm, and they were charging incredible amounts of money for a cup of coffee. Most people don't realize that coffee is an incredible profit margin. And Duncan wakes up and says, well, we have terrific coffee, but people know us for donuts, and we have to kind of reinvigorate our coffee platform. Can you help us? So we dug in deep on that one. With my staff at the time, we went through and did, 100 plus store visits, interviewed people all over the country. Basically, really found that there was almost an addiction to, coffee is a drug, and there was, a kind of an addiction to Dunkin' coffee. And we had basically developed the entire strategy and helped them develop the coffee platform for everything that basically is now what as America runs on Dunkin'. So they shifted their focus and became, and then also even like we didn't do the rebrand to just Dunkin'. We recommended that rebrand, 7 years before they did that.
Okay.
So I would tell you that was the other kind of really strong case study that we kind of developed.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Very cool. I love hearing these stories like this and like how you had this one executive that's hired you for like 7 8 projects and they just keep coming back. They switch companies, but they're like, David and his team, they're my people. And just keep coming
Yeah, and
back.
we get that. We get that a lot. I mean, we get that a lot. I've had that, numerous clients do that, which is testament to. I like to believe that it's testament to the quality of work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, so you've got to this point. So how long have you been? Over 20 years now. You guys been in business?
24 years. Starfish has
24.
been in business 24 years. We started in
Okay.
2002.
Okay.
And then
So
look, and it hasn't all been rosy. Like
sure.
the marketing world is very much, reflective or reflection of the macroeconomic environment. So, the dark years of the crisis in the 2008,
Uh-huh.
2009 crisis were some very sleepless nights.
Yeah.
So, and then we made our way through that. Um, Not an easy time, but we made our way through that. And, after that, we grew, and all of that. And then when COVID hit, um, I was bracing for the worst, but it turned out um, COVID was a very strong period of time for us. Brands, maybe because the government funneled a lot of money into the marketplace, but companies took a step back and said, you know what, I think it's time that we really take a look at our brands. And the influx of new clients was incredible over a 2 to 3 year period of time.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Wow. Well, so 24 years into this, here you got to this point right here, right now, today. Um, what's your vision for the company going forward from here, David?
It's a interesting question, right? So, I mean, I would tell you at the beginning of this year, as you know, again with the focus on AI across every industry, had me concerned, right? And to say, oh, okay, look, people are going to, certainly think that they can replace our services, um, with AI. And look, many are trying, right? But what we're seeing, so where the vision of the company is right now, is really where I don't want to say pivoting as much as we're just kind of reorienting a little bit to say, look, right now, and as you look to the future, based upon what we do, branding and creative development, you have to do it with an eye on AI, right? You've got to build it for the AI era.
Mhm.
And I'll explain what that means in a second, as well as you've got to embrace the AI tools that can help us create some greater efficiencies, speed, and all of those things, right? So,
Okay.
what does it mean to create a brand for the AI year? And that's really the vision, and that's at least for the next several years, because what we're seeing is tremendous opportunity. We're just started to kind of push that out into the marketplace, and we're getting a tremendous response.
Okay.
And the for the past forever, right? As marketers, we were marketing directly to human beings.
Okay.
And in the early days, when you were pushing your marketing out to human beings, you were pushing them out through what I would call the physical channels, right? The more physical, traditional advertising, print, television, radio,
Uh-huh.
right? You were using tactics and you're using channels of communication that delivered your message in exactly the way that you want it delivered. You would produce a television commercial, you would send it to the network, they would air it, people would see what you produced. You do the
Mhm.
same thing on a radio, right? And same thing in print. You produce a print ad, you send it to the papers or magazines. That's what people saw.
Mhm.
AI is very different, right?
Okay.
So when you push your brand out now, in every what they call surface, in every possible way, the AIs read that all and then they interpret it. So unless you do some very specific things in the way that you establish your brand from the beginning, and some of the build a certain components, your brand is going to be interpreted in a way that you may not necessarily like.
Okay.
And this is happening to some very well established brands, even brands that are 100 years old,
Wow.
right, are
Wow.
showing up in a way that is what I call incoherent. So to me, the vision is to really lead the industry in developing brands for the AI era, right? For both human beings and AI. The other piece of it is what we're seeing is executives, marketing executives in particular, are recognizing the importance of what we call authenticity, right? And AI doesn't have emotion. And the brands that people connect with on the deepest level are the brands that show up with emotions
Yep.
that they
Yep.
can connect to,
That.
right? And that's the other piece of it, right? So what we first have to do is what we call brand soul, is you have to define and articulate a brand soul, right?
Yeah.
And if you do that accurately and you do that incredibly consistent, let's see, consistently, the AI engines are going to start to recognize that, and they're going to basically present you upon prompt, appropriate prompt, in a way that you want to be, you want to show up. So that to me is the vision for the future. I think there's tremendous growth in that, and I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. We are living in such exciting times. Um, and it's really amazing. And just like, I mean, just to look at the what's already been possible now because of AI, and what just thinking about what will be possible, but yet what you've kind of alluded to here, this authenticity and trust. Boy, I'll tell you, trust is becoming more and more valuable
Wow.
all the time, and AI is a big reason why. And so,
Well, I think exactly, and I think you're starting to see. Look, it's what I say: the pendulum swings. Whatever it is, the
yeah,
pendulum swings back.
yeah,
Water reaches its natural level. It has a role, right? It has strong roles in many industries, right? And each industry, it'll find its place, right? And you're going to have leaders and laggards in each, but it will all in each of those industries. But eventually, it will kind of find its place. And what we're doing is trying to take a very thoughtful approach to that and recognize that both in our industry as well as the industries that of the clients that we serve.
yeah, yeah. Well, for anybody that might be listening to this, thinking to themselves, "Man, Kevin, I really like David. I love who he is. I love how he shows up, and some of the stuff that he shared just really is resonating with me." Uh, Maybe they want to find out more about you. Maybe they think you might be able to help them. Any websites, any resources we can share with folks?
Yeah, I would tell them. Well, I would tell them they could should they can email me directly if they like.
Okay.
David at Starfish Co. That's starfishco.com.
Okay.
They can go to our website, starfishco.com. They can go to our LinkedIn page, or they can go to my LinkedIn page.
Okay.
So and reach me that way. I'd be happy to speak with anybody. And we do this all the time. So happy to talk to you about your business. Happy to kind of talk about how we possibly can help you.
Awesome. Awesome. And so if you're listening to this, as always, I've got the links included below here. So just scroll down, you'll see the show notes there, and you'll see the links that we have there for you. Make it nice and easy for you. David, any last thing that you feel led to share before we call it a wrap?
Just look, based upon the title of this, Million Dollar Relationships, that's what attracted me to to doing this podcast, meeting you. And I don't know if it's true in every business, but I can certainly know that in any service business and in my business, it's a relationship based business, right?
Absolutely.
I worked
Yeah,
for another guy years ago, and he said, "We're not in the advertising business; we're in the relationship business,"
that's right.
and that
Yeah,
stuck with. And people
yeah,
hire people they can trust, people they know,
that's right.
right? People they like.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, David, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation today. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you. And I'm excited to get this out there and share it with folks. So thank you. Thank you so much, David.
Great. It is my pleasure. This was a great conversation.
Absolutely.